Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this insightful panel discussion on From Burden to Breakthrough using AI to alleviate teacher workloads. Today, we explore how artificial intelligence is transforming the education landscape, particularly in easing the often overwhelming workloads of teachers. So, we will dive into how AI is not just a technological tool, but a crucial enabler for educators to focus more on what they do best teaching and mentoring. Our panel of experts will shed light on the AI driven solutions that are streamlining administrative tasks, improving classroom management, and personalizing learning experiences, allowing teachers to reclaim their time and creativity. Before we dive into today's discussion, I'm delighted to introduce our esteemed panelists who bring a wealth of knowledge and experience in both education and AI technology. We are honored to have Vikas Sharma, who is an accomplished strategic business leader with over 16 years of extensive experience in corporate sales, CSR, education, and edtech. He has successfully spearheaded numerous franchise expansions, fundraising initiatives, and sustainable business development strategies in the education sector. Vikas sir is passionate about leveraging technology to transform education and is a solution seeker in K 12 and preschool education. We welcome you to the panel discussion, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Roshali. Thank you for your generosity also in terms of giving the introduction.
Thank you. Also, we are joined today by the co-founder of Gravitas AI, Mr. Aarsh Srivastava, who is a business and AI strategist and has consulted multiple organizations in setting up their business strategy. We welcome you to the panel discussion, sir.
Thank you, Rishali, and thank you, Mr. Vikas, for being patient with me.
Now, let's start with
It's
a short and exciting opening keynote. So, first starting with you, Mr. Vikas. So, how, according to you, is AI currently being used to reduce the administrative burdens on teacher? And what are some of the most impactful use cases, according to you, in the same?
Yeah, thanks, Roshali. And first of all, thank you guys for having me here in this discussion. This is a very important and I should rather say futuristic discussion as the education goes and the technology goes. Uh, yes, AI and technology has always been a part of education for a very long time. And in this rapidly evolving education landscape today, the teachers are even under more pressure than ever. Balancing administrative tasks, parent communication, lesson plans, all those things have become a little overwhelmed. But AI presents us with a unique opportunity to shift this balance and allow teachers to have more focus what truly matters to them. I believe education and interacting with young learners, making sure that education and learning outcomes are making their mark is the prime most task. And AI, for that matter, as far as my experiences goes, India, I mean, has an amount, in India, a teacher spends an enormous amount of time in tasks like grading, paperwork,
Okay.
administration. AI can immense has an immense potential to possibly take these burdens out and have some free space in terms of quality time so that they can spend reducing mundane administrative activities and enabling specialized learning experience to the children nowadays. And we have seen many cases where AI has been adopted by big brands or some individual schools, but so far the penetration has been very few. Some of the few cases, or you can say the examples, can be automated lesson plan, attendance tracking and scheduling, learning management system where they can schedule the teachers availability according to the session which is planned. So there are plenty more use cases, but yes, what I feel right now is the penetration is one very less. And we, as the discussion progress, we will definitely get into in this bit one by one, because there are many myths which is surrounding the adoption of it. And I believe AI is something which has the future, and it is going to stay here.
I think like, that's a very good summary and a lot of important use case also mentioned by him. So it's there to be used. We just need to know how to use and where to like reduce the burden, where to not reduce the burden, how to make it more impactful, how to leverage it for the larger benefit for the different stakeholders who are involved. There's a lot of administrative burden on teachers and across the board, and be it like any section of it, be it universities or colleges or schools. And there's a lot of work which goes on because ultimately it's about careers and future development of the people who are involved, the students, and that responsibility is actually pretty big. So to fill in the right kind of gaps and fill in and support the teachers with the right kind of tools which can help them to get some workload off their shoulders, and they can focus on the right thing for the students. That is really important. So there's definitely, as explained as well, there's a lot of implementation as use cases for use case point of view, but yeah, we should be using it for larger good, and also thinking about how we can plug in the different gaps, plug in the different holes which are there in the whole user journey.
I think beauty of AI, I think, lies in the ability of handling, many tasks simultaneously and with the kind of accuracy if you train it well. Backend tasks like organizing data, managing communications, you know, giving teacher more time to focus on emotional and instructional needs for the students.
Yeah.
So basically, I mean, what I'm trying to say is use cases depends, like how you highly highlighted, depends on the structure of the institution which is utilizing its capability. But yes, in every term, in every walk, I think we everyone in the teacher fraternity or in the administration or in the institution, everybody interacts with one form or the other with AI nowadays. But passively or actively they realize it or they don't. But the using AI for absolutely managing the tasks which can be automated is some space which is rather difficult for anybody to right now visualize, because there's no structural approach right now going somewhere which can capacity build between these organizations or the institutions about the possibility that AI holds. So yeah.
Yeah. I completely agree with you, Mr. Vikas, and thank you, both of you, for sharing those valuable insights into how AI is transforming education. And through this, you have provided a great foundation for our discussion, for our further discussion. So, yes, AI is being increasingly integrated into education systems to automate repetitive administrative tasks, as you mentioned. And thus, this will allow teachers to focus more on teaching and student engagement. And as Mr. Vikas talked about some use cases that included AI powered grading systems that quickly access student work, attendance, automation tools that save hours of manual tracking, and also sir also talked about AI driven personalized learning platforms. And thus through this, we will also adapt to, and the teachers can also adapt to the individual student needs. So now coming on to a further question, that is, how can AI help in balancing administrative tasks and instructional responsibilities, allowing teachers to focus more on student engagement and well-being?
Yeah, like we already discussed, like how it started.
Yeah.
Teacher nowadays need to spend, or every teacher need to spend. See, we have seen a shift between how the COVID has impacted and how things changed after COVID. And there are a bunch of learners, which what I will like to focus here on, at the university level, at schooling level, at preschooling level, including my younger child who has not seen preschool as for that matter. Now, what happens to those students is that they need to have some bridge which can integrate them well within the classroom or the structural learning which has been there. AI for that matter, and there are many test preparation platform also which finds to find want to find a way how to balance between the foundational learning and test preparation. AI, I feel, is a tool which can integrate these two worlds in a very specific manner. or in a very smooth functioning manner, which requires a teacher to focus more on how the outcomes are coming. For example, with the help of AI, you can have a data driven approach for sure. With the help of AI, that data driven can be useful to have insightful insight about the individual learner. Which eventually, if you look at the school structure nowadays, these days in India, you have a class teacher, you have a subject teacher, and then you have sections for a class. Just imagine this. Now, for a class teacher or a grade teacher, it is difficult to imagine, 75 students and try to think or learn about which student does what in which sem. So, parent teacher interaction nowadays on a practical term happens once in a quarter, for that matter, in India. And it's difficult. And between this quarter, there are lots of activity that keeps on happening between the schools. For example, in this month, there will be celebrations. There are annual sports. There are, different activities that school performs. And if you do not have a structural approach towards the data, this jargon becomes, little difficult to handle, or this juggling becomes very difficult to handle for the entire institute to capture it well. AI on this matter helps in a tremendous way to not just to capture the data which is available. Capturing data has always been there. We had LMS system, we had CRM system already available to these schools, but I mean, my personal experience is these are not utilized to the potential how it is made for. They are specifically utilized for a use case or a one use case purpose, like planning a lesson plan. That too, if some IT guy is helping them. AI, for that matter, has the capability of automating this task. AI can help saving time, actually, and not only saving time, but giving this space for to the teacher to channelize their entire energy towards what matters, and not get stuck in the wheel again and again with the same kind of thing, because the same teacher is doing the academic progress for the student. The same teacher is engaged in the physical development for the student. And we all know that development and education goes from micro to macro and from macro to micro. For example, what I'm trying to say is the development goes from macro to micro. So once we start learning, you must have seen young children, they scribble a lot, they paint on a wall, they make larger images. As the time progresses, they learn how to write. It becomes micro to macro. It comes closer together, and then you know how to write. So this is how the learning goes from macro to micro. And for academic, it goes micro to macro. First, you start learning ABCD, then you start learning, three-letter words, then you start, making essays in the time. For a teacher to capture these two dimensions of learning, I believe in nowadays it is very difficult. It has been difficult for a time, possibly from last one decade. I've seen it is the way the things are evolving. Even especially, I would again mention after 2020 how the things has progressed and changed. And parent expectation, what they expect out of a teacher, they with the amount of time which is available with the parent nowadays, it is difficult for them to also capture what is right for the kid. Then where does the learning goes? There comes the AI, which captures all the detail and give you the insightful insight about what needs to be done at the hour. Yeah.
I think there's a lot been talked about, and is covered almost every actor in space about this. So I'll talk a bit about well-being, and that is also a very important aspect of it, because we traditionally like ignore this, and as a society at different stages, and even after COVID, things have changed, and still we are still again getting a bit irresponsible. So health is supreme. That is being taught by COVID, and we should definitely take that concept forward. So focusing on well-being is very important, and that is also where a lot of artificial intelligence can help in terms of gathering the insights, making it more personalized, trying to understand more about the behaviors, sentiments, and how we collect data, how we want to perceive things, how we want to reflect back on it, and make some personalized recommendations based on that. Things which we like to do, and things how we want to get ourselves educated is something. If something someone is focusing on that, it makes us happy, and then there's a good emotional well-being, and thereafter a good trajectory to follow in terms of your happy education line as well. So I think that's very important. That aspect need not be overlooked, and this is also where AI can come in very handy. Apart from all the BAU activities and the use cases it will be solving, but we should also keep an eye on this tangent.
Yeah, I agree to this. And thank you for shedding light on this important topic and highlighting how AI can strike the right balance between administration and teaching. So, summing up whatever you both have said and what we learned in this segment, that AI can significantly ease the burden on teachers by automating time consuming tasks like grading, lesson planning, and data analysis, allowing educators to allocate more time towards student engagement and well-being. And with this AI handling routine responsibilities, teachers can focus on building relationships, addressing individual student needs, and creating enriching learning environments. So now let's move on to our next segment, that is table talks. So in this, we will start with you, Mr. Vikas, and we want you to highlight us that what are some ways in which AI can assist us and the students in improving work-life balance for teachers, and especially when we talk about reducing after-hours workload like grading or communication.
All right. So this is a two-dimensional or possibly multi-dimensional question, Rushali, that you have asked. Um,
Yeah.
Reducing work-life balance, or I think this is related to the point that Mr. Aarsh has, highlighted, that it is mostly closely related to, mental well-being. So once you have these things disturbed, once you do not have a work-life balance, or rather you can have a disconnect from work or a life altogether, then the challenge emerges of how to bring it to the balance. Now, how AI can help it? See, for students, it is very vital. They are on a learning curve, and but so are the teachers. So it is a myth to not understand that teachers does in these days do not need understanding, because the class changes every year. You cannot have a same formula for every class, for every student. There is no one size fit all approach which goes. This is where AI becomes very important. This is where AI becomes very vital, because it is difficult in a fast paced life for a teacher to visualize what changes are there in the environment, and how she needs to shift gear or switch gears. For teacher also, it becomes a very challenging approach, to how to do it, because for teacher these days, it's a never ending class does not end how the period ends. At the after coming back, they need to prepare for another lesson. There's another LMS tool that they need to figure out how to first use it, and then use it for the purpose. So it becomes a daunting task for them to take out the time personally. And once in a while, this circle is fine, but if this is happening again and again, then the system needs to be checked very closely, because it at a point becomes a pressure cooker situation. And if the leader of the class, or if the facilitator of the class is feeling the pressure, it is very sure that student will end up feeling the pressure of it. So there is it is mostly related to learning outcomes, how teacher gets get a time for focusing their time on the learning outcomes, how students are easily absorbed into it. Because From student perspective also, if once they study at in the school, it becomes once they go back, nowadays parents are working, both of the parents are working, and they do not specifically have time to devote to this to kid at home and ask him how's your day, what challenge did you face, tell me anything good about that happened during the day. So these are the interaction which has are gone with the time, and possibly how we can reclaim it back once they also happen to have a good time at the school, and they know how to capture and they have the insight where to work on coming back home. They do not have to ask out of the blue question to their parent that this question is not helping me out, or this concept is not working for me, when the parent has no idea about if this concept should work or not work. So I think AI bridges all these challenges into a same streamline, and I think it makes sense for any institution to adopt AI for that matter, to be able to streamline these process and make firefighting end for everyone.
Yeah, I think that's very important because typically organizations are dealing with this kind of increased pressure because of the expectation which is risen up a lot in terms of performance, and the kind of expectation which different stakeholders involved in the whole ecosystem have, and especially with the kind of global ecosystem which we have right now, like now at least, which is not there 20 years back. It is very like if you have to go outside to study, then it was a very different ballgame than it's now. So that also has play that also plays a lot of that also puts a lot of impact on this kind of activities, because ultimately then the person who's trying to train the person is getting impacted. The work-life balance of teachers is getting impacted due to all this framework of workloads because the expectations have risen, and then we're still not understanding that okay, the person who's doing the bits needs help in that regard. So I think the organizations definitely need to reflect back on this, and yeah, a lot of BAU activities definitely we should be every other organization should focus on getting that. It's not just about focusing on BA activities, and they need to convince the other stakeholders who are getting impacted as well that AI is not there to replace them; it's for their assistance. So because awareness about technology, how to use the technology for the larger benefit is very important. Then only it will start reflecting back as a benefit, and that's how we can assist in improvements. Because if we just develop technology and provide it to the stakeholders without telling them okay how to use, why to use, when to use, then it will be of no use. So it's better to educate, empower, and then transform.
Thank you, Vikas and Aarsh, for those thoughtful insights. And yes, I would also like to add one point in this that if we talk about teachers, so AI can greatly enhance teachers' work life balance by automating their tasks, like basically their after hours tasks, such as grading assignments through intelligent assessment tools and handling routine communication with parents and students. And this they can achieve through via chatbots. So these solutions allow teachers to reclaim personal time that would otherwise be spent on administrative work. And in the long run, it will reduce their burnout and stress. So these are my
Well
views
said.
on this. And now coming on to the next question, that how can AI be used to manage and organize student records, lesson histories, and administrative paperwork more efficiently, giving teachers more time to focus on teaching?
Yeah, I think Ash may be the right person to answer this question because all I can say is there is a lot of data, and there is a lot of, not only a lot of data, there is a lot of unstructured data which needs to be carried out in order to take the task forward in a positive manner for a school or any educational institute for that matter.
Yep, I think we have to develop a comprehensive strategy. So it's not just about sorting out a problem for them, but sort of problem in a sustainable way, and that is where we need to focus on. So basically we need to understand that okay, if there's a data existing in the organization, and we're going to utilize it for AI purposes, then we need to understand what type of data, uh, for whom, when to be used, when not to be used, etc. So there's definitely a lot of reflection which needs to be done in this regard, and we have to strategize well, develop a full data strategy, and on top of that, put the AI strategy on top of it, so that we have different layers combining together, and then we can start utilizing it. Because definitely there still be institutions which will have like a lesser amount of data. There will be organizations which have large amount of data because of the scale of this. So, and nothing will do like nothing will follow like a one size fits all. So we have to consider, even if you have to like segment it into multiple sections of that particular sector, we can do that. We can like try to build up some sort of strategic framework for different type of sizes and scale of organizations, and then start further customizing on top of it to implement the right kind of strategy. So it's like we have to think holistically 360-degree in terms of like all the stakeholders, departments involved, and then think about how to better utilize the data in a way that is good for the stakeholders. It also is interrelated, and we are able to utilize it across the board.
I would like to add my 2 cents to it. I mean, it's very important to first see how an institution visualizes the data. So when we are talking here about data, for a schooling or for a university, the definition of data might differ. The amount of data might differ. For a student taking a competitive examination, a definition of data might differ. So how Arsh rightfully pointed out that we need to first check, the usability of it. Only capturing data, we already had lots of tools to capturing data, but all those data are only captured in a way that does not make sense at the end of the year for anyone. How AI can be different, because AI with this artificial intelligence, it can formulate data into a insightful insight that can be drawn from a different for a different stakeholder to visualize what data works for him. And admission data can be useful for say principal to visualize how much admission is going on. It can be utilized by teacher to see what kind of different subjects have different attendance in a college perspective that I'm talking about. It for a student, it also it may help student to visualize for specific studies. Not only for specific studies, the AI data can help in generating an insight about an individual, that which profession might be very suitable for them to pursue. There are days when I've met people who feel that they are pursuing something, but they are actually good in something else. That goes in very well in terms of hiring also. When we are in a team member, or as a team leader, when we hire people, sometimes we hire for a different job profile. But as we progress and we invest into the employee, we came to know that we come to a conclusion that okay, it might be fit for him to work in a different set of area. So yes, how the data is visualized is also important. But what the beauty of AI is, no matter how you visualize it, it always have an insight, or a useful insight for somebody to draw and build their future decision on. So this is very important, where AI helps or and differs from different segments, that it helps in future decision making, not only just capturing and characterizing data into different segment and slicing and dicing according to the needs. Yeah.
Yeah. I completely agree with your point, sir, that it helps in future decision making, and that is a very crucial aspect of it. And tools like AI driven learning management systems and cloud based platforms ensure that records are easily accessible and well organized, reducing manual efforts. So, basically, it will help us in taking the right decisions at the right point of our time. So now up we have next round, that is the myth busting round, and here we'll uh, talk about and will challenge common misconceptions about AI in education and uncover the real facts behind its impact. So I would like
Yeah.
you to talk
I
about.
think
Yeah.
before getting to misconception, there is, it is first important to make the conception of AI right.
Right,
I
right.
will start from this point, because these days people often understand what AI is from the definition of generative AI. AI has
Hmm.
been there in the industries or in the institution for a very long time. In the product lines, the cars that we see on the road, on the shop floor, we have witnessed AI in a different form on a mobile phone. When we write text, Grammarly for that matter, if in context of working professional, if I had to take it out. So myths regarding AI are myths also, but they are sometimes misnomer as well. That people, what they feel is a myth, they do not even have a knowledge about it. So it's a lack of knowledge rather than a myth. So it will increase your screen time. It will increase your job. You need specialized attention or expertise to develop some prompt which will give you magical result and have you sitting close to the god. So these and also not only in terms of operating, the kind of results that people expect out of AI these days are very, very different. If you go to the web, if go to YouTube channel, you'll find people posting or uploading a video saying that AI helped me doing this, achieving millions in 20 days. So these are nothing but a lack of knowledge. Rather, I think you should call it
Yes,
a
yes,
call it a myth. For
yes.
AI to be utilized in a rightful manner, it is first, like it come back to the one base. What problem does it solve for you? What exactly the problem that you're facing? AI has the adaptability of doing it. you know uh, for anyone, in the teacher or possibly in the education community, if I have to talk about, I am not going to dive into different section. I'm going to stick to the education community. So in education community, there is a very deep need for capacity building right now as far as AI is concerned. For these myths, you need to include different stakeholders, because first, not only the user friendliness is in the question, but they feel that it is going to take their job away. Even if not, the worst case is they will be pressurized with more work, because now AI is going to give them extra hours, and then they will be shoved into more work. So usability to the perspective how it lands to the end user becomes a very questionable task, which requires a larger amount of first making the knowledge available to the users, making knowledge available to somebody who is going to be the end user. So for example, in most cases in these LMS or ERP or AI system, if not B2B systems, are generated or or hired or utilized by somebody else, and the end consumer is somebody else. Now the end consumer, if not integrated into the knowledge web, is going to suffer very widely. And then you have duality of problem. For example, a management has adopted AI system, but AI system is something which even they did not understood at the first place, but they thought that it is going to shortcut every task, and then they start shoving up more tasks per hour to a person. So it creates a duality of problem. One of the myths, I'm coming to the problems, which is very different from what you asked. But yes, to understand what the myths are, you need to understand where the problems are coming from. So the myth is it is difficult. The myth is it is going to take my job. The myth is it does not give me the answer that I desired for. The myth is I knew that it was magical, but when I'm using it is not magical. How to do that magic? So these are the myths that I feel believe that exists. And I believe that rightful knowledge and capacity building will is have to go longer way to visualize this. If you have to
Yeah.
include somebody in making a AI work, you have to include every stakeholder in making that decision of buying, to include people and saying that okay, this is what is in store for you if you adopt for AI. Otherwise, if the adoption is not there, it is going to be just another tool which is made for good, but it is not utilized to the core.
Yeah, I think that was correct, and like especially the things we which you talked about. So how it should be spread across, and how it should be reflected upon with different stakeholders. That's very important, because ultimately we are trying to mimic the human intelligence, and the humans whose intelligence is being mimicked is not on board with that tool, so it will make no use. So yeah, quite right about that.
Yeah.
So
And
thank you
I mean,
for yeah.
the biggest, I'm so sorry, Roshali. I just wish to add that people
No, no,
feel
no
that
problem. Yes.
it is going to mix the machine, angle to a humanized thing.
Hmm.
Rather, AI is something which adds up to the more human thing from the machine thing that you are already evaluating. So if a teacher is working like a machine day in and day out, and machine is learning, you need to somehow give it a chance to give you a very good sense of responsibility where it belongs. So
Yeah,
it's more human rather than more machine, I feel.
indeed, indeed, agree to that.
So we would like to thank you, Vikasa, for debunking all the myths instead of debunking just one myth that is prevalent in the minds of the people and students or teachers in that sense, if we talk about. And as we come to the end of this insightful session, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to our incredible speakers for sharing their expertise on how AI is revolutionizing education and easing teacher workloads. We truly appreciate your time and contributions today, and thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arsh and Vikas.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Roshali.
Mr.
Thank you,
Vikas.
Ash.
Thank you, Shari.
Thank you.